When you think of a religious figure, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably someone pretty serious, maybe even a little somber, right? Someone focused on the next life, not so much on this one. Well, today, we're going to look at a figure who just completely shatters that mold. A figure who, according to this philosophy, isn't some relic of the past, but is actually a blueprint for our future.
So on one side, you have what we could call the somber sage. This is the kind of life-denying figure, someone who seems kind of beaten down by the world. The source material we're looking at even points to Jesus and makes the claim that he never laughed. But then on the other side, you have the dancing god. This is someone who is joyful, laughing, life-affirming, and totally, completely engaged with this world, right here and now. And this, of course, is Krishna. The argument here is that he's maybe the only great figure in history who reached the absolute peak of religion while still dancing, singing, and laughing.
But, this joy, it isn't just a personality quirk. It's really the foundation of a philosophy that takes a sledgehammer to our fragmented view of life. For centuries, we've kind of been sold this idea that life is a battleground between opposing forces. But this philosophy just stops and asks, hey, what if it isn't?
And there's a name for that traditional approach, a fragmentary religion. What it does is create this constant state of war inside of us. It's body versus soul, this world versus the next one, good versus evil. And by denying the body, the philosopher says these religions became, and I'm quoting here, anemic and ill, because they basically cut themselves off from the very source of life's energy and music.
So Krishna's philosophy offers this really revolutionary alternative. Just accept life, all of it, in its totality, without putting any conditions on it. It doesn't say deny the body for the soul or give up this world for the next. Nope, it embraces everything. And the text we're drawing from suggests this is exactly why Krishna is considered a perfect incarnation, because he accepts and absorbs the whole shebang. And this idea just completely redefines what it means to be holy. Traditionally, holiness is something you achieve through denial, by scrubbing yourself clean of all those worldly taints. But this quote, it flips that completely on its head. Here, being holy isn't about some kind of purity you get through suppression. It's about completeness that you get through total acceptance. To be holy is to be whole. Simple as that.
Okay, but if you're going to accept everything, that means accepting, well, everything. And that leads us to what is probably the most challenging paradox in this whole philosophy. How can a figure who is so full of love and compassion, who plays the flute and dances with lovers, also have the courage to not just accept, but to actually lead a war?
This is the big one, right? This is the central question that has puzzled thinkers for literally centuries. Even someone like Mahatma Gandhi, who called the Hindu scripture the Gita, his own mother, really struggled with this. I mean, he was the champion of nonviolence, yet the central figure of the Gita, Krishna, is passionately telling his follower Arjuna to get in there and fight. How on earth can those two realities exist at the same time?
Well, there are basically two ways people try to square this circle. Gandhi, for his part, interpreted the whole war as a metaphor, an allegory for that inner battle we all fight between good and evil. It was his way of making the text fit with his deep belief in nonviolence. But the philosophy we're exploring today, it takes a totally different road. It insists the war was real, a historical event, and that the highest good isn't about choosing nonviolence over violence, but about accepting the totality of reality exactly as it is, war and all.
Now, to support this, the philosophy makes a really controversial argument. It suggests that war, as destructive as it is, can actually act as a catalyst. It's like a tree that has to force its roots through hard, rocky ground to find water and life. The intense challenges of conflict can awaken these dormant human energies, forcing our intelligence to take a huge leap forward and spurring all sorts of societal growth. It's a difficult idea, for sure, but it's absolutely central to understanding this concept of total acceptance.
So, where is all this heading? How does all this, the acceptance of love and war, of joy and sorrow, build to the ultimate philosophical concept here? Well, it all leads to a state that's described as being choiceless and empty. And this, right here, is the key to understanding why Krishna is considered whole. Now, choicelessness doesn't mean you're just indecisive. Not at all. It's a really profound state of accepting all of life's opposites, its polarities. Think about it. The second you choose good, you automatically create its shadow, bad. The moment you start chasing pleasure, you create the fear of pain. Choicelessness is about stepping back from that whole game of opposites and just observing the entire picture without judging it.
So, how do you get there? This philosophy kind of lays out a path. First, you just recognize that these contradictions are inherent to life. Then you consciously work to abandon that mental itch to always choose between them. That leads you to embrace existence just as it is. And that eventually brings you to a state of choiceless emptiness. And this isn't some negative, empty void. The way it's described is, it's like being a perfect mirror. You have no fixed personality of your own. You just purely and simply reflect all of reality.
So, why on earth is this ancient philosophy suddenly being talked about as so relevant for the future? Well, according to this viewpoint, for thousands of years, humanity just wasn't ready for Krishna. We were stuck in this mindset of denial and splitting everything into pieces. But that is changing, and it's changing fast.
And you can really see this shift in our thinking over time. For centuries, most religions taught that suppression was the path to the divine. But then you get thinkers like Freud who come along and reveal the profound psychological damage that all this repression causes. So now, as a global culture, we're slowly starting to see how pointless it is to fight ourselves. It's why ideas like mindfulness and radical acceptance are suddenly everywhere. We're developing this deep, deep need for a spirituality that is life-affirming, not life-denying, a laughing, dancing, and whole religion.
And all of this leaves us with one last massive question. If we were to truly embrace a philosophy of total acceptance, one that doesn't choose between good and evil, but just acknowledges both as part of a much greater whole, what would that even mean for our laws, for our judgments, for our very sense of right and wrong? It is a challenging thought for sure, but it's the one this ancient yet futuristic philosophy demands that we ask ourselves.